Oh, it does.
I just don't. What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Eddie Live podcast, episode number 232. I am here with the Tianmu legend,
Not a
Adam.
legend, not at all.
Adam McMillan. How you doing, brother?
Good.
Thank you for coming, man.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having us.
I noticed you've done your homework and you've brought a bunch of amazing stuff here. That is fantastic.
Mhm.
Thank you for that, because we all love the history lesson, and I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, this is well, first maybe I should say what the center is.
Yeah. So first thing we can do is we can say Adam's the director of the center, this community center
Mm-hmm.
in Tianmu. So if you guys are an expat and you live in Tianmu, you most likely have met Adam. If not, you got to go and see him. In the description below, we have the website for the center. If you're curious about it, go check it out.
Yep.
There we
So
go.
we're a 30-plus year strong, locally registered not-for-profit foundation.
Okay.
And we were founded in 1987 after an event which we'll get to somewhere in here.
Uh-huh.
Over the last couple of months, a year and a half ago, we had to move from a location we've been in for 35 years. It wasn't a choice, but we're happy with the opportunity the new space brings.
Sure.
And we uncovered all these old records. And I've had a volunteer helping. Shout out to Maddie for helping with this. She's organized the material.
Uh-huh.
And we came across some of these really cool old pictures,
That's amazing.
which we could maybe share with people first.
Yeah,
Those
we
are
will.
pretty interesting.
Sure,
Those
sure,
lead up.
okay.
These are pre-center.
Pre-center. Okay.
These would be 1973 and 1972.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me see if I'll pull one up here. So I believe that's the first one, right?
No.
Okay.
That's
So
actually.
I mixed the order up here, man.
Yeah, that's 73. That is
Okay.
a TYPA
Okay.
U.S. football game being played right where this space is.
In this restaurant.
In this
basically.
restaurant, basically.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
This part of the Tianmu East Road had not really been developed yet.
Okay. Wow.
I know, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Tianmu East Road, man. That's amazing. Okay.
Let's see the next one.
All right. Sorry, I thought I had them in order. It was 1973.
So this is Fred Voigtman's house.
Fred Voigtman.
Fred Voigtman was one of the founders of the center.
Okay. Okay.
And he lived in Bank of Taiwan housing, which was right where the American school is now.
Okay. Okay.
All of that was housing, and you can see the water buffalo
Yeah,
through
that's
the front yard.
that's really cool. Wow.
Yep.
So were these pictures in a box or something, or like
No, they were as you see them.
just like this? Okay. Wow. Okay.
The folder was not as organized.
Sure,
We've
sure.
gone through and cleaned things up, and this is not. We have boxes of records. This is
Gotcha.
just the first stuff, and I thought maybe the most interesting to talk about.
Oh yeah. Very cool. Very cool. Okay.
Uh,
Very cool. Let's go through them real quick here.
Now that-
there's 72.
Yeah, that is the corner of Tianmu West Road and
Okay.
Tianmu North Road. And so Tianmu North Road is going off to the right, and
Yes.
Tianmu West Road stops right there.
Okay. Wow. All right.
And they're building, they're taking Tianmu West Road and they're extending it out towards Shipai.
Okay.
That's actually a picture of construction happening.
Okay. Okay. Wow.
There's nothing there.
72. Yeah. Yeah. No.
Nothing there.
Yeah. That's amazing. Shoot. Okay. Okay. And
That one.
sorry,
I don't have these memorized, so I have to go back.
No, it's okay. I thought I had them in order. My bad there.
That's looking west from Shiling. So that'd be looking
Okay.
this way
Okay.
after crossing the Wencheng Bridge, which is where the current TES campus is.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay.
And that actually kind of looks the same, except there's buildings.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course.
Built up.
Okay. Some really cool pictures, man. Wow. And
I
the
know.
originals are in there. That's unbelievable. Wow.
And I didn't want to take these out when I
No,
scan them. I
definitely
don't want to
not.
mess with them.
It's like a museum, man. It's like a museum piece. You don't want to mess with that.
And then you start worrying about finger oil
Yeah.
getting on stuff and degrading it.
Exactly. Here's another 1972 looking south on
Let's
Windling
look.
Blue.
Yeah, that would see. Notice how narrow Windling Road is there.
Yeah.
That's
That's crazy because it's massive now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
can you imagine what it took to convince the residents of these buildings?
Sure.
I mean, they had to give that up.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully, yeah. Well, I don't know if at that time they got a nice little stipend for it, but nowadays I think they would. But I don't know. In 72, who knows? Who
Might have
knows?
been tough.
It might have been a tough one. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. I like to see sometimes there's a bunch of new buildings, right? And then there'll be one old kind of building in there, and everybody they want to take it down and build something new. But there's like maybe one resident who's like, no, this is my place and I'm staying.
They changed the law on that a while back.
Okay.
So now it's it's like an 80%. Once you reach 80%,
Oh, that makes sense.
So one person can't hold out.
Okay, that makes sense. Because I remember one of the first years I was here, they were building, the Warner Village area in Shinyi. And in the middle of it, I mean, it's gone now, but in the middle of it, there was a farmer with his garden, like in the metropolis area that was just, you'd go there and you go watch a movie.
Mm-hmm.
And, you'd get dinner and you would walk by this kind of fenced off area, and there was a guy with his straw hat, picking his carrots, which is probably the most valuable land on the island. And he's like, nope, I'm going to use it for carrots.
Well, I'm sure he's
doing well now.
Nice pocket of money after that.
For sure. All right, we've done that one. Let's go to
that one.
Tianmu West Road, looking north into an alley off Tianmu West Road. Okay.
Yeah, and I really have no idea where that is.
Okay.
I mean, it's nearby, but noticeable how there are no tall buildings.
Yeah.
There are no even 5-story buildings. It's all one level, single level.
Yeah, no, that's
units.
Let me just jump on here and double check.
We all right?
Yeah, we're good. No, I'm just supposed to. My daughter is supposed to be checking the live audio on YouTube, but is it good? Okay, yeah, 10-minute play. Right. Thank you.
There we go.
Okay. Beautiful. Okay, and two more.
Now that is Zhongshan North Road.
Okay.
And they're widening it.
Okay.
So it looks like it was a 3-lane road.
Yeah, for sure.
And now it's 4 through most of most of it.
Gotcha. Beautiful. Okay. Yeah, no, these pictures they're gold. When you sent me the scans, I was like, how is this possible that you still have these? That's amazing. Oh, this is a cool one.
Fred, which one?
This one.
Oh, I love it.
It's so cool. Yeah.
This I will.
Is it actually in there? No,
it's not. But we have the actual one.
Really? Okay.
In one of the boxes.
Okay.
And this was written for foreigners.
Okay. Yeah.
Road traffic control and safety regulations of the Republic of China, and I guarantee you, not one of them was followed.
Oh, I can imagine. I don't
know. When did you came in? What, 88?
No, I came here in December 2002.
2002. Oh, okay.
Yeah. No.
So in 80, I came in 87.
Okay.
And they still had. I came in August, and there was still martial law.
I'd love to hear the stories about that because I've heard a few, and that's awesome.
Well, at that point, martial law was ending, and it wasn't really being enforced. The only thing that you saw was there would be these circular platforms in the middle of every intersection, and or major intersections, and there would be a military policeman standing there with a rifle.
Really? Oh man. Okay.
And I might not. Maybe a year later, I moved in with this guy who. He had been a military policeman.
Okay.
I don't know if this is true or not, but he told me that they were issued one bullet.
Okay.
It was for themselves should there be a mob attack.
Really?
Really.
Oh, man. That's like those movies, those samurai and stuff like that where they've got the one. That's
again, I don't know how true that is.
Okay.
But I thought that was pretty interesting. But then this leads all up into the... he really had documented some amazing things here. There's a letter from Jimmy Carter. You can't see that on screen. I can't see
that one, but okay.
Announcing the derecognition of Taiwan.
Wow. Okay.
I find it interesting because this was all set in place by Nixon.
Okay.
But everyone here blames Jimmy Carter.
Okay.
He's the evil one here, but actually it was Carter was just doing what Nixon had set in motion.
Okay.
This one I love. I wish we'd scan these pictures too, but the opening of the first McDonald's in 1983.
That's pretty incredible because McDonald's, I know that it's been here for a while, and I know that it's popular and there's a lot of them, but I did not know 1983 had a McDonald's here.
And I've heard stories of when that opened, that there were lines
I can imagine.
For blocks.
I can imagine. When you see something big in Taiwan opening up, do you remember the first Mr. Donut?
Yes.
And it was in Tianmu,
yep,
right by the Takashimaya, and it was just like,
And people used to say that the owners were paying people to stand in line.
That's possible. That's
Mhm.
possible, because in Taiwan, when you line up, I mean, when there's a big lineup, people are like, okay, this got to be good.
And I always stop when I see that, and I'll look, and I'll be like, "Well, I'm not going to stand in line like that."
I think us as foreigners, as expats, we have like the opposite. Like you walk around, you see a giant lineup, and I'm like, oh, it doesn't matter what it is, I'm not waiting.
No,
We have no patience, I guess. Yeah,
no.
that's funny.
Opening of Wendy's restaurant.
Where's the beef? Okay.
Old tourist maps, and then kind of get to the. Oh yeah, when I first came in '87, all of the rail lines
Okay.
were above ground, so traffic was constantly stopping for
trains.
TRA trains going to Hualien or to Taichung. There was no high speed rail then,
Okay, sure.
but everything was above ground. So
Okay.
there was this huge effort started in '87 to move all the rail underground, and
That's a big project. Yeah.
and it made a huge difference.
Sure.
Like,
Wow.
people still complain about traffic here, but it was
They don't know how it was.
no. I actually got a ticket.
Okay.
I was driving a motorcycle,
Mhm.
and the rule of the road was that if there was a bigger vehicle behind you and the light turned yellow, you'd better go straight through because that vehicle's going through,
Okay.
and it might go through you.
I felt like that.
Yeah.
I felt like that.
So the light had just turned yellow and then red as I was going through, and I got nailed.
Oh.
And
Okay,
I
wow.
had to go to traffic safety class.
Okay.
And that was one of the almost a surreal experience. They said you get in this room and there are a bunch of people in there, and they tell you no reading of newspapers, no drinking or eating of outside food, and no smoking.
Okay.
And as soon as they go into the spiel, you hear somebody popping a Coke, somebody is lighting a cigarette, and there's a bunch of newspapers came out.
That's funny. That's
Yeah.
funny.
But that was the traffic back then was even something else.
So the beginning of TYPA dates back that far, even before that.
Oh, before that,
Even
it
before
dates
that.
back to the U.S. military presence here.
Okay.
So it was organized by parents, military parents, to have their kids be able to have the American sports experience.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, I didn't know that. Amazing.
This,
This stuff's like museum stuff, man. There's museum pieces here.
yeah,
Beautiful.
they're really interesting.
Yeah.
But then it leads into the starting of the center, and a lot of people don't know the story, and I don't normally like telling it because it's kind of a sad and macabre story. But
Understandable.
there were two kids three kids who got high on cough syrup and alcohol, and
Okay.
one of them hit the other in the back of the head with a baseball bat and killed him.
Okay. Wow. And that was in
It was
the 70s?
1986.
86.
And
Wow.
I had that.
Man.
I was looking
okay.
for the.
Yeah, that's sad. And that was, so how would that spark off something like, okay, we need the center.
Well, they felt that
Yeah.
there would so the different people in the community. From Guy Lott was a superintendent of TAS at the time.
Okay.
A guy named Fred Boitman, a guy named John Brantingham, and others. People from AIT. They started meeting and trying to identify what were the mental health needs of the international community.
Okay.
And interestingly, what they came up, they ran focus groups and they did a lot of research, and they felt that there wasn't one place where you could find English speaking therapists, so that was kind of the driver behind it. Is we need these mental health resources. We need them in a single place, and very much in our beginning in '87, we were really closely tied to the American school.
Sure. Okay. Okay.
It was their event, which, but over time, it's really become more of the whole community.
Okay.
And what a friend of mine once said, the center, that's where the Europeans and the Americans get together,
Okay.
and the Latin Americans,
Okay,
and the rest of the other Asians,
The rest of the world. The rest.
and I think that's largely true. But
Okay.
the mental health needs that they identified back then, they haven't really changed.
Okay. Yeah.
And we continue to serve. I call it I hate it when people say expats.
It's hard. I know but if yeah. Well, what's the word you use? Immigrant, foreigner. What's the word?
Elias likes immigrant.
I know he loves immigrants. Yeah,
I'm not sold on immigrant.
You're not sold on immigrant.
I like third culture community.
Okay. Oh, that's a new one for me. Third culture community. Okay.
So you're definitely third culture.
For sure. Yeah.
You grew up in one culture, or you grew up in two.
Grew up in a mix. Yeah.
And
Parents are both
three.
Mexican. Yeah.
Yep.
Parents are Mexican.
And now you're here.
Born in Canada, and then now I'm here.
Someone who was born and raised in Taiwan and then goes to Europe for university and then stays with a job and then later comes back. They're third culture.
Third culture.
They don't view they view the world through a third lens.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, you know this. You went back to Canada last summer, and
I do.
You're talking to your high school friends, and it's like,
it's a very different experience, man. I actually feel like when I came to Taiwan, people always talk about culture shock, but Taiwan, like we used to go to Mexico, not every summer, but every couple of years we'd go because all my family's still in Mexico, aside from parents. I have one uncle and, brother, sister, and maybe a couple cousins, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like there's a very few of us that went to Canada. Everyone else stayed in Mexico. So when we would go to Mexico, it was great. The food is great. It's very temperature's nice. It's a great place, right? It's a little bit unsafe now, unfortunately, but
I've never felt unsafe in Mexico City.
I've never felt unsafe, but the news is always crazy about that. But that's a whole other story. But yeah, we used to go to Mexico all the time, and it's hot. You go outside, people are outside, street stalls, night markets and stuff like that. And I love that. I grew up, and then in Canada, I always wondered why Canada never had that. It still doesn't have that. And so when I came here, I just thought, well, night markets and street stalls and street food and this is great. This is like Asian Mexico. I love it. So when I came here, obviously I couldn't speak the language, but aside from that, I didn't really have much of a culture shock. People were friendly, street food, I loved it. And then when I go back to Canada, I'm actually, it's a little bit of a reverse culture shock because I'm, one of my buddies calls me, Austin Powers.
Austin Powers.
Because I'm the guy, like I didn't get frozen in time. I'm living in Asia.
Yep.
So, I've been here for 20 years. And now when I go back to Canada, I start to think, oh yeah, chocolate bars are 75 cents. No, they're not. They're like $2.50 this time I went. And just like you go there and you just remember the stuff like when you were a kid. You'd go on the ferry and, you go to the arcade and you have your handful of quarters and you pop your quarters in there. And so we were on the arcade this time. I brought my wife, I brought my daughter, and that you put $1 coins in there, and it cost $4 to play Mario Kart. And I thought, oh my god! And you want to play your daughter? It's $8. And I thought, what?
For me, crazy. One of the biggest shocks, and it's not that I didn't grow up in the States and you get used to tipping, but tipping, my goodness,
the tipping culture is out of control.
Unbelievable.
It's crazy because I like to tip. Like I'll tip if I'm going somewhere and I have a good meal, I have some good service, or you have a waiter or a waitress that is awesome. Like, yeah, if I can leave a nice tip financially, I will. This is great. I love it. But now it's to the point where it doesn't matter if the service is good. It doesn't matter if the food was good. It doesn't matter if anything was good. It's like 20% or something, or 18 or 20 or, oh, what would you like to tip? 20, 30, 40. You're like, what? 40?
Oh, this past summer, I took an Amtrak train from San Francisco to Chicago.
Yeah. Okay.
And we've done a fair amount of research on this, but how much do you tip the car attendant? how much do you, and this is 4 days, 3 nights. So
Okay.
how much do you tip the people that have been serving you in the car?
I don't
And you
know.
had to,
Yeah.
oh, I didn't either.
Yeah, yeah,
And you had to plan it. And then you realize, oh, wow, I only brought hundreds. I didn't bring,
Yeah. Okay.
I didn't
Okay.
bring
Loose
smaller
change.
denominations.
Yeah. 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 Okay. Okay. Wow. Okay.
So that was a very interesting look into the tip culture.
For sure. And like we were discussing a bit earlier, since I've been here, like I said, the last time I went back to Canada was 5.5 years ago, right?
Yep.
And they had just legalized marijuana,
Mm-hmm.
but it hadn't gone into effect. So, last time I went, no big deal. But this time I went, this is 5 years later, and it's like there's cannabis stores everywhere. And everybody, not everybody, but I wouldn't say a good percentage of people were high, or they had weed on them, or they smelled like weed. And I was just like, whoa, on the ferry. It's like you go out there, you take a little walk on the deck with your daughter, be like, hey, let's look at the ocean. And it's just, it smells like weed.
And you're like,
What's
mhm.
going on here? My daughter's like, what's that smell? I'm like, ooh,
Did
did you see the dolphin?
yeah. That was also something that was very noticeable. Even in states where it hadn't been legalized,
Yeah.
they had cannabis stores.
Yeah.
That just met a lower threshold of the THC concentration.
Yeah.
And I was in Tennessee and driving by, and I kept seeing these stores. I'm like, what in the world is that?
Yeah.
And I finally was, I gotta go
Check
see.
it out.
And then it was, how is this legal?
Yeah.
And it was a federal law.
It's crazy. Yeah. Like same as me. I thought, okay, we passed so many cannabis stores, and on the last few days, I was driving around with my brother. I said, you know what, let's go check it out. I'm gonna go check it out. So we went in, and they're asking us, what do we prefer? What kind of strains and this and that? And I'm like, I have no idea. I living in Asia for 20 years. So no idea. I mean, yeah, just what do you recommend? And like, well, we have gummies, and we have Reese peanut butter cups, and we have like, peanut butter cookies. And I'm just like, what? Okay. Yeah.
But, I'm a big Jimmy Buffett fan.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
And he passed away last year, but
Okay.
one of the last songs he wrote was "My Gummies Kicking In."
Oh, did he really?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. That's cool. I'm gonna have to Google that one.
It's pretty funny. So they did a lot of market research back then, and what I found really interesting was that the mental health needs that they identified then largely are true today.
I was going to say that. Has things changed? I think with the rise of social media, is there more now, or is it the same sort of deal?
I think that there's less of a stigma to it than there was even in the West, but also certainly in Taiwan.
Okay.
I think that it's somewhat normalized that people will seek help when they need it.
Okay.
But definitely with the advent of devices,
Sure.
and you take the MRT here, and everybody's face is in the phone,
You're the only one looking around, right? And everybody's just face down.
and there are people on the street walking with their phone, looking at their phones, and
crossing
it's just
crosswalks.
nonstop.
Yeah.
And that means that they don't have any time to think or to process.
Sure.
And then stuff is going to build up. And so anxiety levels globally are definitely rising.
For sure. Not just here. You're right. Globally. 100%.
Globally.
Yeah.
What we saw when we started tracking this in 2014 was we track presenting issue, not there's never just one issue, but we only look for that. What's the reason you call? Number one, marital problems.
I know a few people that have gone for that, for sure. Yeah.
But the number one and two and three, and they were closely tied and they're linked,
Okay.
were anxiety and depression. And they're two sides of the same coin. Now, anxiety is up to like 18%, 19%.
Gotcha. Okay.
And depression has dropped. So anxiety levels would definitely see it.
Interesting. So I wonder why depression has dropped and anxiety's gone out.
I think it's just
You just get your endorphin rush
when
on
you go for long periods of time without reflecting, without processing how you're feeling about certain things, or without even also not acting on things that you need to act on.
Gotcha.
That builds up.
I get that. I mean, I think everyone has a little bit of that when you put something off and you're like, oh shoot, I got to get this done. But to do it, to get to that level, it's got to be sad and tough. Yeah.
So we saw our numbers really start to increase around, say, the late 2000s, and then mid teens it went to another level, and we started doing around 4,500 sessions, and then a year, which is a lot.
A lot.
And then during COVID, because people couldn't go home,
Yeah.
they were here for the. Normally in the summer we see a nice dip, and
Big dip. As a restaurant owner.
yeah, they call that the Tianmu recession. I
Tianmu
think.
recession. Yeah, yeah.
But that summer, 2022,
It was it was packed in here, man. It was crazy. We thought, whoa.
and
Interesting, yeah.
we had the same thing. We went up to 6,600 sessions.
So when you have like a jump like that, how are you able to cope? I mean, do you have to hire more people, or how does that work?
You can't.
You can't.
You
Right?
can't. You
Just got to put people on waiting lists.
finding a good therapist
That's tough.
is tough. Finding a good therapist who speaks English
Even tougher.
is very hard.
Yeah, yeah.
And they just, I mean, you can't go out and create them. They don't grow on trees.
Yeah.
So when you find them, you bring them in.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, we did have a waiting list.
Yeah,
We
of course.
we no longer have a waiting list.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
But for some people whose schedules were a lot tighter, they might wait a couple of months.
Okay. Okay. That's tough.
That was tough, and there's nothing we could
But
do.
it's nothing you can do. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're also human, right?
But we would refer out to other agencies.
Okay. Okay.
We wanted people to get the help they needed and
Sure.
have to come from us. But for people in this area, we're convenient.
Yeah, of course. I mean, and this area, Tianmu it's a unique place where, it's obviously very, what are we saying? Expat? Well, we're not saying expat.
Third culture.
Third culture. It's very third culture heavy.
Mm-hmm.
And people that live outside of Tianmu, like for example, I have a lot of customers from Danshui and all the way downtown and stuff. They love this place, but they're like, but Tianmu's so far. And then when people are in Tianmu and they live here and they go to American school here, they have their apartment here, or their house or whatever, they're like, it's too far to go downtown. So everybody kind of stays in the Americans that I know call it the bubble.
Yep, it's definitely a bubble.
And the Europeans call it the village. Right,
The village.
the village, because they're like, it's the village, Tianmu village,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, people tend to stay. It's a great place to. It's actually by far for me, it's the best place in Taiwan because it's the best of both worlds. If you want to leave it, if you want to go up to the hot springs in the mountains, you can. If you want to leave, you want to go down south. It's very convenient to leave, but for me, it's the best of both worlds. People are not going to be like, foreigner,
Yep.
It's a normal. I love it. It's the best. It's the best of both worlds for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I now live way south in
Okay.
Xindian.
Shindian. Oh man. Okay.
It's not that bad. It's a
Okay.
40-minute train ride.
Oh, that's not bad. Okay. Okay. When I think Shindian, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm Taiwanese now. I'm like, that's the other side of the world.
There was I spent 1 year where I was living in Tianmu and I was working in Junan,
Junan. Oh, okay.
so south of Hsinchu, and that was an hour and 40-minute car commute,
Okay.
one way.
That's a lot. That's a lot. Yeah.
and that was if traffic was good.
Okay.
On a Friday, if you didn't leave the office by 3:00,
Okay.
if you were 3:10, that was a 4-hour car ride, and it was a parking lot.
That's tough.
Oh, it's awful.
When we used to live in Danshui and come here, it would be like 20, 30 minutes. But if you left on Saturday at lunchtime, an hour.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I remember staying here with a friend, watching like a midnight movie or something like that. He went home and I was going to scooter back to Danshui, and it was all green lights from here across the street to Danshui. It was like 20 minutes, 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't like flying. I was just, speed limit, not speed limit maybe, but over the speed limit, but just going. And it was just for 15 minutes to change to an hour. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. And in that hour, you're just not moving.
You're not moving and you're getting grumpy and you're getting cut off. And it's just like, people are honking at you. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Mhm.
Yeah. So that's why I live here, and I don't leave it very often, to be honest. And I love it here. Sometimes there's days where you're going to the gym and you want to kind of, it's your day off, you want to be good, you're doing your thing, and then someone you'll have a customer at the gym, and the customer will be like, hey, I need to make a reservation for 6 p.m. Friday night, and then I'm just like, whoa, in the middle of my set, and I'm like, whoa, and what am I going to do? Say, call the restaurant, like, oh, hold on, let me just try to figure that out, and then your workout's over.
I think I'd probably say just call the restaurant.
Yeah, I mean, but it's like, it's tough because sometimes, like we were saying, restaurants doing well, it's busy, it's packed. Sometimes when it's cold for 2 weeks, you're losing money for 2 weeks, and you're just like, shoot, so you always have to be the Mr.
We were talking about that earlier. I'm kind of surprised at that. The cold weather.
Yeah,
I would think with cold. I mean, this place is warm.
It is warm.
Come and get some hot Mexican food.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we were thinking, and I'm married. My wife's Taiwanese, and we have different ideas. I'm like, okay, it's cold. I'm going to make a rule where if it's under 14 degrees, you get a free cup of chili with your meal. And she's just like a big argument. I'm like, no. I'm like, but nobody's going to come if we don't do something, And then it becomes this big scrap and this big argument. And it's just like, da-da-da-da-da. And you thought, oh.
Put a hot bowl of chili.
A little hot bowl of chili,
on
a cup of chili.
Afternoon.
That's perfect. It's perfect, right?
Absolutely.
So I thought, let's do it, Luckily, it's warming up now. But yeah, so I also know other restaurant owners that are hot pot owners. And for them, it's the opposite. It's just, it's packed. But when they say yeah, when it's warm,
that's something I don't understand.
Yeah,
right. I can make a great hot pot at home.
Yeah, I know.
So why would I go out?
I don't know, man. I think that the Taiwanese eating culture is people just love to go out, and I don't know if it's the groceries and stuff are more expensive, or if people just don't like cooking, or if they have the old apartments where there's no kitchen. I don't know. It's just the culture. Everybody eats out, which is great when you have a restaurant, but not when it's cold and it's a Mexican restaurant, apparently. Yeah.
Anything other than a hot pot restaurant.
Anything other than hot pot. Yeah.
That's a very, very interesting.
It's crazy, man. Yeah. So when did you get involved? So you were saying you were doing different jobs. When did you get involved? You're like, I'm going to get into the center. Did we skip a chunk of the story?
No, I mean, I came here in 87 to 91.
Okay.
Moved back to the States.
How was that?
It was fine.
Okay. Crazy. Yeah.
I was teaching English and studying Chinese, and I went back to the States and entered the corporate world.
Okay. Ooh, tell me about that.
Just got a job working for Halliburton, a Halliburton affiliate.
Okay.
And they hired me simply because I spoke Mandarin.
Yeah. Exactly.
And it was for a project they were working on that would have brought me back, which they ended up not getting. Okay. But that kind of launched a career in industrial engineering maintenance, of all things.
Okay.
I got to play on factory floors and steel mills and oil refineries and power plants.
Cool. Okay.
And I did that up until 98 when a company that I was with at the time decided to open up Asian operations, and they knew I spoke Mandarin, and they thought, come out here.
Perfect. And he knows the country. It's perfect.
Well, no, they wanted me to go to Hong Kong at first.
Okay.
Everyone thought Hong Kong was it, but when they compared the costs,
Hong Kong. Yeah.
Taiwan was much, much cheaper, and all I really needed was an airport.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. So I did that for 2 years, and then they were going to rotate me back, and at the time, my wife and I we just decided, no, this is where we want to be.
Okay.
So I started making career choices around staying in Taiwan.
Sure. Okay. Beautiful.
And I did it. Was an AP regional marketing director for a software company.
Gotcha.
Then they got bought, and then I went to work for actually Boyden Executive Search with Bill Farrell, and worked up until 2009 as an executive search consultant.
Okay.
And then the economic downturn hit.
Yeah. Okay.
And so did a startup, which didn't really start.
Gotcha.
And then went to work for a Taiwanese company in Yunnan.
Okay.
And about 8 months into that, the job at the center came up,
Okay.
And I
And
thought,
did you start as the director? Right.
yeah.
Were you just like, I'm gonna start on. Okay, beautiful.
well, the position was open, and I knew about the center. My wife at the time worked there as a therapist,
Gotcha.
or had worked as a therapist there, so I knew
Okay.
quite a bit about it. And I thought, wait a minute, an hour and 40 minutes commute each way
It's far.
versus a 5-minute walk.
That's what I got, man. I got the 5-minute walk.
I like the 5-minute walk.
I love it. I love the walk.
Though I
Yeah.
traded it in for a 40-minute train ride, but
But you live in the mountains now, or something?
no, I
right?
don't. No. I live in a. It's a old. When the KMT came over, they built 2 neighborhoods.
Okay.
One's in Old Nehu, and that was built for high-ranking military officers.
Gotcha.
The other was in Xiaobitan,
Okay.
and that was for high-ranking government officials.
Okay.
So in '87, at that point, the Legislative Yuan was populated by people who had been elected in China. And they were octogenarians, and they were all on oxygen tanks, and they would wheel them out for major sessions of the Legislative Yuan, and the news would pick it up with these old people who were running the legislative branch of the government, who were bedridden and ill and
Okay.
dying.
Okay.
That's that neighborhood.
Interesting. Okay. Wow.
So it was a purpose-built neighborhood with parallel perpendicular streets. At the time, originally, it was only 2-story houses
Okay.
with yards. Some of those houses still exist, but over time, they've torn many of them down, and they put in an ordinance that you couldn't build over 6 stories.
Okay.
Now, some people got by that, so there's some taller buildings, but mostly it's 5- and 6-story buildings.
Okay.
It kind of reminds me of Brooklyn Heights in New York.
Okay.
It's not the brownstone, but it has that kind of old row house neighborhood feel. And there are no businesses.
Okay. Okay.
But I mean, there are a few. There's a couple of coffee shops, but
So it's kind of just like
it's a residential.
residential kind of.
It's definitely urban.
Okay. Okay.
It's not suburban,
Okay.
but it's quiet and very peaceful and very little traffic.
Nice.
I love it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah. Especially, from all the hustle and bustle and all the craziness you got to deal with, I guess, on a daily basis or weekly basis over here.
It comes and goes. There's always something. There's always something interesting.
I know that feeling well, man. As a restaurant owner, business owner, like we were just saying, it's things are going great, and then all of a sudden we're like, hey, it's great. We got 2 restaurants. We got money in the bank. We got money in the restaurant bank. Everything is good. And then COVID comes, and then that money just goes, and you're like, oof, and that's like after 15 years of you hustling and like just doing.
Did you apply
The
for
right
any of the
decision.
government aid?
Because as a foreigner, I couldn't get anything.
Really?
Yeah, I got rejected because I am the fujiren of this restaurant. So they're like, oh no, you don't get that. You're a foreigner. Or you're a third.
But you pay your taxes like everybody else.
Do you have? I pay a lot of taxes here.
I bet you do.
Because starting in it from a stand and then to a very small restaurant, then a medium-sized one, which is the other one, which is now Divino. They are small enough to where you just get. I think it's about 5,000 every two months or something, to where you go and a place like this where. When they give you your license, they count the seats and they measure the place out and stuff. Then you're on a percentage, like on your whatever you
Based on your size, not on revenue.
Yeah, no size. Yeah. So you can look at little places, like we can use my old place or Divino as an example, and you get your little sticker, and it's based on size, and it's not based on revenue, and so that seems to be the loophole. Keep it at a certain size, and then. You get your fixed tax amount. I can't remember what it is. I'm gonna say it's around 5,000 for 2 months, which is nothing.
Right.
Because here we pay 5%, and everyone wants the receipt, and most people use credit card, and so
That's another 3%.
that's another. Yeah, exactly. So there you go. Yeah, it's a tough one. So we pay a lot. We pay a lot of taxes. So for us to be, getting smashed by COVID. We still did all right. We coasted at about 40%, which is awful.
How much takeout business were you doing?
It was all takeout.
It's all takeout.
But we coasted at about 40%.
Okay.
Yeah, which is most restaurant owners are like, wow, that's amazing, 40 to 50. But for us, we're still losing money, right? You're not
Right.
making money at 40%, right? So yeah, we had just launched our own online ordering system. That was good. We made special dishes like tamales and stuff like that, which was good. But it still doesn't replace a guy coming in for a beer and tacos.
Yeah.
You can't, there was one long-term customer that's like, hey, we want to support you guys. We also want a pitcher of margaritas. So we delivered a pitcher of margaritas, and it's like, you're a pitcher in like a big plastic bag. Like, what am I supposed to deliver it in? It's weird, you know? So they only did that once because I agree, it's weird. And then we used to have Fumo next door, which pre-COVID, they were doing really well. And then when COVID came, it was tough because for them, they were kind of like a high-endy place, you know, Wagyu steaks and stuff like that. And it's hard to get like a Wagyu steak and throw it in a paper box and take it home and pay $3,000, 100 US.
It seems almost criminal.
Yeah, exactly. So it was tough. Mexican food, luckily, travels well.
That's good.
Luckily for us, but yeah, not all types of food do that. So yeah, a lot of restaurants were hit hard. Long story short, we got nothing, and my wife was able to apply for something small where they were able to cover 1 month's salary of full-time employees, and some of our employees were foreigners, so they didn't qualify. And after we got that, it helped a little bit, maybe 80,000 or 90,000. And then a few months later, they're like, oh no, we made a mistake, so give half of it back. And we're like, well, we don't have it right now. So my wife kind of had to fight. And it was a long story.
You had to give half of it
We were
back?
supposed to give a portion of it back
Why?
because they said they miscalculated.
That's their problem.
But yeah, we ended up not having to give it back. But I mean, I think it was less than 100 grand, which is, you know, a few salaries or whatever. And I mean, we were 4 months of just, so it was rough. It was definitely rough, man.
Yeah. I have a lot of friends who own restaurants, and
A lot of them closed, right?
a lot of them closed. All of them were talking, this is just about surviving.
Yeah, just scraping by, bare minimum type deal. And it sucks because you made your life here. Like, you did the right things, you know, you skipped, you know, everybody's wedding to, you know, traveling back home. You skipped all that stuff so that you could build your business.
Right.
And then, you know, 15 years later, it's like, oh, you're almost back to zero again. Thank you very much. And you're just, whoa, oh, ouch.
At least you had it to float you through.
We did. It was very, very, very slim pickings at the end there. Yeah. There was definitely, so I could see the mental health stuff kicking in at that time because you're like, we did all the right things and the government won't support. No one will help. No one's going to help you survive it. And then we did. But by the end, it was slim pickings, man, for sure.
We were absolutely slammed. And normally in the summer, we see a dip off.
Yeah,
and
the Tianmu dip.
It's always nice. It's a chance for the therapists and for the rest of the organization to kind of take a step back, reflect,
That's when you
recharge
take
your batteries. And we didn't get that.
Yeah, that's tough.
And unfortunately, you know, you can't create a good therapist.
Sure.
Can't pick them off a tree.
Yeah.
So we had to have a waiting list, and I'm happy to say we don't have that now.
Beautiful. That's
But that was tough. And
I can imagine. I'm not a therapist, but I
Right.
can imagine being a therapist, and when it's supposed to be the time when you're supposed to take care of your own mental health, you're like 10x on clients, and you kind of got to be like, woof.
well,
I need my break here.
And the organization is pushing them to take more clients.
Take more.
Take
Yeah.
more. And through all of that, then in 2022, our landlord of 35 years said, "You had
New Year. Thank you.
Happy New Year."
Happy New Year. Yes. Have a good one. No, you're right.
That's fine. Said we had to move.
Yeah, that's crazy. Oh,
Well, he was not. He was really good about it. He gave us a year, and
Okay.
that's quite reasonable.
that
and
is okay.
we looked and we looked and we looked, and this really was the only space that we could see working for us, and it gave us. I look at it as opportunity. for years and years and years, people complained, and they were right, that our program space and our counseling space were intermingled. So you could go
Privacy, or
you could go on a Friday afternoon to see your therapist, and you run into your friends who are taking a cooking class.
Yeah, I could see that. It's like me going to the gym and saying, "Can I make a reservation?" I'm like, "I'm in the middle of
Maybe a little worse than that.
way worse than that." Yeah. Okay,
So
that's awful. Yeah. What are you doing here?
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah.
So now we have counseling on one floor.
Beautiful.
And we couldn't fit. We could not fit everything on one floor. There was no way to do it. Sure. We tried. And shout out to Stephen Leach and Associates. They were the interior designer who helped make all that possible. We put program on a second floor, and actually it is the second floor, and it's half of the floor. And what's been really nice about that is that space is being utilized by other community groups.
Fantastic.
And even to the point that we've gone through a strategic planning process, and we wanted to do one more round, and I couldn't find an available date until February, end of February.
Okay. Wow.
And that was only a morning.
Okay. Amazing.
So the space is getting utilized. That's been really nice to see.
You get to maximize your space usage.
Yep.
Beautiful. That's great, man.
And it becomes then more, I mean, when I think of community center, I don't immediately think of mental health center.
Yeah, no,
I
actually didn't know until you mentioned it today. To be honest, I'm so out to lunch on stuff sometimes.
Oh, okay. So and we used to and still do heavily emphasize the mental health side of it, and it's still 60% of our operating revenue come from that.
Okay,
but now that we have a space that can be opened up to different community groups, in March we have a group of women who are organizing a women's clothing swap.
That's awesome.
Which I didn't know was a thing, but it's a thing.
I didn't know that's a thing either. But yeah.
The last one
that's a great idea.
Last spring we had over 130 women come in and just trade clothing.
I think that's great because I know I don't want to get myself in trouble here, but yeah, my wife has a lot of clothes and she probably wears 5 outfits, and I have a good amount of clothes, but I probably wear 2. So there's a closet.
Jeans.
There you go, jeans and whatever's there. It doesn't stink, right? And it's tough. And so I also have clothes, and in every Chinese New Year, I don't know what to do with it. So luckily those green bins are around, and I don't know where that goes, but it's donation apparently. And so, but my wife has a lot more than I do. Yeah.
So I was thinking along those lines. I mean, I had 2 boys, and they played sports when they were young, and 7-year-olds, you go buy them nice cleats and a ball, cleats, and then about 3 weeks later, their feet are they've outgrown it, and it's a perfectly good cleat. So I'm thinking organize something similar for kids' sports equipment.
Wonderful. I think that's great. Yeah, sport equipment for sure. Like my daughter goes to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and she's been going for a couple of years, and a few years ago when she started, she had like the gi that actually fit, and now it's like this, and I'm like, okay, we need to buy a new gi, but this one, I mean, those things last forever, and like, what am I gonna do with this thing, So yeah, I agree.
Give it to the next person coming up.
Exactly. Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, we also have a parent toddler play group that meets, I think, on Tuesday mornings.
Wonderful.
And just a space for them to get together and have some adult interaction.
Super important.
And the kids get to socialize with each other.
It's really important when you have a little kid to have a space where, I remember when my daughter was little, luckily at the time, what are they called? Their kids' restaurants were like massive. Mm-hmm. So you go to a place, the food was awful, but they had like a fenced off, padded off play area where everybody would throw their kid in, kids would play, they'd run around and they'd make friends, and there's toys and stuff. And you didn't care that the food was awful, but because you're exhausted and you get to meet some people, or you could sit in the corner and be antisocial, but you could kind of collect your thoughts, and your kid's happy, having fun.
That's
super important. Important. Yeah.
So that's been pretty cool. And and our coffee mornings and the other programs that we're running, they're still there.
Yep.
In fact, this Thursday we have our traditional Chinese New Year coffee morning, where we have
Beautiful.
kids from the European school come talk about different traditions. And then the one I'm looking forward to, though, you and I talked about, was Leo Seawald's coming in March.
Okay.
And he's a former head of BlackRock who semi-retired. And what do? He gets a fishing license and buys a fishing boat and starts a fishing show.
Yes.
And it's amazing.
On Taiwan Plus. Yeah, no, I've seen it a few times, and he used to come a lot more, and he was talking about it, and I'm like, I'll check it out. And I saw a few, and I'm like, okay, the next time I see him, I'm going to invite him. We can talk about the fishing show. And I haven't seen him. He's busy fishing.
Yeah, he's busy fishing.
Yeah.
All of this came out. One of the other things we do is we have the Centered on Taiwan magazine, and we've moved that to a full digital platform.
That's beautiful. That's great.
And it's been a learning
Okay.
a learning curve. I mean, it's very similar.
Everything's a learning. Yeah.
Everything's a learning curve.
Yeah.
And we realized that some of our back end systems needed some attention.
Understandable. Yeah. It's always like that, man.
Yeah. And technology moves so fast. But we're moving very close to a point where the magazine will be fully integrated with our website.
Awesome.
And we've grown to a little over 2,000 viewers from nothing in just a couple of months.
Beautiful.
And this is what's the interesting part. I know how to get to hundreds of thousands.
Well, do share, because that would be unbelievable. That'd be great,
I'll do that offline.
We'll do that offline. Yeah. I'll have to hire you as a consultant. Yeah.
But we're not ready to pull the trigger because the magazine's platform is not ready.
It's not ready. Understand. Okay.
And if we pull that trigger too early and people come and then we've lost them for good.
Experience. Yeah. That's similar. That's the business, right? You open up your business, and if you're not ready, for example, when we took this space, it was a big jump from the other space to this, double the size. It would fill up, and you're just like, holy crap, and if food would take too long. And then there was definitely some people that didn't come back for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And they'd be like, I like your little one because the food comes faster. And I'm like,
yeah, but the kitchen was awful.
It was so tiny. I'm like, man, it's so slow. What are we doing here? So, it's tough. It's tough.
So that's been an interesting learning, and that's been a big push in the last 6 months, is really focusing on the magazine, trying to bring it to as a source of information for people in Taiwan, but also a source of information for people outside of Taiwan.
That's the ticket, right? That's the ticket. I love that.
And for those who are interested, it's the Centered on Taiwan magazine.
Okay.
If you Google it, if you go to our website, you'll find it.
I actually have some other pictures I want to pull up here,
okay.
And they're very center specific here. So there you go.
Oh, I love that cover.
There you go. Yes.
Some people didn't like it because they thought it was the old Taiwan of the family.
Yeah.
But I thought
that's fantastic. You still see that. I still see that. Yeah. For sure.
I almost thought it was iconic.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I wouldn't see why.
So we're still printing 4 issues a year.
Okay.
But I suspect that by mid-year we will stop printing altogether.
I think that's a smart move.
And then for those who want hard copies, they can print on demand.
Okay, nice.
And we'll set up a system where they can simply go straight to the printer, order however many they want, and then they'll deliver them. And then they pay the printer.
Yeah, they can pay. That's not on you. Yeah,
and we get out of the printing business.
Okay, yeah, no, that makes sense because, again, my daughter's 12, and we went to a coffee shop recently, and there was, the stack there of newspapers, and she's like, what is that? Had never seen a newspaper in her life. And so it's just, I agree that the print stuff is going to be digital and videos and, social
everything,
and all that. Everything. Yeah. Here's another one, man.
That's Ivy. And Ivy's been with the center since the beginning. She's an institution, and she just released a cookbook with
Larissa,
made in Taiwan, and I love that cover. It's made
beautiful.
to look like the label of a Taiwan beer.
Oh, I didn't notice that. Okay, beautiful. Yeah. Now I see it.
And Ivy's an institution unto herself.
She is like the go-to, Chinese food cook, Taiwanese food cook.
She cooks other things too. She's a very good cook.
Yeah. No, I hit her up a while back because there's a few dishes that I want to learn, and then she's like, let's do it. And then I just got busy. So definitely. And I also would love to they just released the book. I'd love to get her on, and
Yeah.
I want a book first of all.
Well, we have them for sale at the
Yeah,
center.
for sale. Beautiful. I'll be there. I'll go grab
And
it.
it's a great book, and it's not just a cookbook.
Okay.
It's an introduction to everything Taiwan.
I love it. I love it.
And it's also a bit of a personal story for both Ivy and the author.
Okay. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Got just a couple pictures here that I've picked out.
So that's our new space.
Yeah, I thought
And
so.
if you look at the far back, you see it looks like some panels there.
Okay.
And if you look up at the ceiling, you'll see a track there.
Okay. Yeah, I do see that. Yeah.
And we can pull those panels out and close that off into a classroom.
Oh.
Or
Okay.
this was a coffee morning, we can open it up and we can fit 50 to 100 people inside the space. So it gives us the flexibility to go big or go small.
I love that.
And we have the coffee mornings every month. We have a guest speaker come. We've had Richard Zhang from Costco. That's one of my all-time favorites because he did some time delay video of pallets of truffle chocolates coming in.
Oh, okay.
And just them disappearing in like an hour.
That's crazy.
And it was like watching ants feed off of a pile of food.
Okay. Beautiful.
And we have, like I said, Leo Seawald coming in. That should be really interesting. And we've had people come talk about the operating of the MRT, the building of the MRT.
I've seen the adverts for them, and I'm always like, oh, I really would like the MRT one. I wanted to go to that one, and then I just space out. But I definitely want to go to the Leo one.
That should be good.
Yeah.
Those are free and open to the public. You don't have to register; just show up.
Just show up. Okay.
And they're usually the first Thursday of every month.
Okay.
Yep.
I will see you there.
And that's our beautiful space. And we for years and years there was a Christmas bazaar that benefited an orphanage.
Okay.
I think it was St. Lucy's orphanage.
I know it.
And they held that at the American Club, and that was largely personality driven. And when the people who were organizing and running that left, things like that then fall apart. So
That happens.
we brought it back,
Okay.
and we have it at the center. And
Wonderful.
and again, by having that dynamic space that we can open up, we can open up to larger groups, and it's a space that is conducive to something like a bazaar.
That's actually what I thought the center was more like. 'Cause, I didn't know about the mental health stuff, but
And that's actually the biggest thing we do.
okay. Well, there you go. I'm not that far off, right? Okay. And I got one more. I just went through. This is like a Chinese one, a Chinese class, right?
Yeah, so we teach survival Chinese. That's one of our main offerings.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Some of the other classes and tours, Ivy does a tour of the Shudong market. And I actually, after living here for 25 years, I went on that tour and I learned something.
Really? Okay.
The tour is called "What's That Vegetable and How Do I Cook It?"
Okay. Well, you know what? I've seen those, and I've always wanted to go check that out.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
But we have Chinese classes. We just started up the spring semester.
Is that I would guess that's a popular one, right?
It's pretty popular.
Survival Chinese. Okay.
Yeah, very popular. Yesterday we had a calligraphy class.
Oh, wonderful. Okay,
And then the other popular ones are we do a tour out to the POW camp near Jiufen.
Oh, wow. Really? Oh, shoot. Okay.
There's a World War II, the Japanese imprisoned soldiers from mostly British, but Canadian, Australian soldiers from the conflicts throughout Southeast Asia.
Okay.
And part of the wall of the original prisoner of war camp is still there.
Okay.
But a guy named Michael Hurst runs a Canadian POW Society organization, and they've done an amazing job of identifying where there were 14 camps, I believe, throughout Taiwan, and they've identified where all of them were. And he's collected artifacts and stories from people who survived those things. And so we do a tour with him.
Oh man,
in the spring
I'm very
out there.
interested in that actually.
It just shows you it's a darker side of Taiwan.
Oh no, for sure. I understand that, but I just
but it's still,
you think you're here for a long time, and you think and then you meet guys that have been here way longer than you, and I didn't even know about most of that stuff, the POW stuff. Canadians, like what? I didn't know that.
Yeah. So that's a really good tour. So we do a lot of things like that, and we print now we put online a course catalog.
Okay.
And people can check out on our website what those classes are. There might be something of interest.
Wonderful. And one more topic I wanted to talk about was usually donate some kind of like a voucher to the auction, like a center auction. So tell me a little bit about the center auction.
So we've been doing the auction for 26, 27 years now. It wasn't something that started from the beginning. Interesting, when I took the job in 2012, one of the first books that I read that was professionally related was Avoid the Auction Trap.
Okay.
And it makes sense.
Okay.
The amount of effort and time that goes into doing an event like that,
I would imagine.
You could do a third of that and just do a direct appeal for money, and you'll make the same or more.
Okay.
But because we've been running it for so many years, people come to expect the event, and it is a fun event.
I know that it's a what's the word, like a dressing up kind of event. Like it's an event where everybody's looking good, they're dressed in fancy.
Well, about 5 years ago, we turned it into a Halloween party for adults.
Well, there you go. Okay.
And people started wearing costumes, and the first year we did that, it was kind of funny. Only about 10% of the people showed up in costume, and I'm sure they were thinking, I don't want to be the only idiot who shows up in a costume.
Adults love to dress up, so yeah.
But it became a thing. Then this last year, we didn't do that. We did something else, and a few people came in costume in protest.
Ooh,
they were like, we want the Halloween party.
Coming in their Goku Dragon Ball Z gear, like, what is this?
There was some amazing costumes.
Well, that makes sense, because that's around the time where Tianmu has the big Halloween, right? And that for us is the single busiest day of the year. Like, it's busier than.
Do you actually make any money off of that, though?
We do make money, because we book out the place for lunch. We have 2 rounds. They have their 90 minutes, and we fill that up. And there's like the minimum spend, and then it's the one of the very few days where we do the minimum spend and the time limit seat. And then in the evening, we also have at least 2 rounds, and so we fill the place up at least 4 times. But we do spend about 10,000 NT in candies.
Wow.
And it's like,
that's a lot of candy.
It's a lot of candy, and it's not like, the Reese peanut butter cups. It's like the 1 or 2 NT, 1.5 NT candies. And when we're out there, I have a lot of friends with kids, and they're friends with my daughter, and they love, their favorite part about Halloween is actually giving the candies, because they get to give the candies. Everyone, we dress them up. They love it. People take pictures with them. And so they're like stars for the day, right? So the kids come and they give candies out, and I have to tell the kid 1 candy per person, because kids will be like, "Yeah, here you go."
Yeah, all of a sudden 10,000 became 100,000.
Exactly. I'm like, if you do that by like 2 p.m., there's no more candy. So it's got to be like one, and they're like, "Can I have another one?" And like, "I'm so sorry, but."
Wow.
No, it's crazy.
I know that's become such a huge thing in Tianmu. And even when I was living up here, it was like on that day, that was the day I did not go out.
Well, that's the day where if you do not have little kids, then do not come.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a crazy day.
There's a lot of people that they're like, "Hey, we're thinking about coming this weekend." I'm like, I'm thinking, this guy has no kids. I'm like, I think you should wait till next weekend. And they're like, "Well, no, we have got time." And I said, "You know what? Just don't come this weekend, because then I'll show them like videos and stuff." And they're just like, "Holy crap." So this year, actually,
they bust people in.
It's crazy. Yeah, exactly. Anyone with kids, or any schools with kids, they dress the kids up and they all come out, and the kids get candies. Most places will be full and they're making money. But yeah, I understand if you spend a lot on candy and you don't get people coming in, that would not be good. But for us, that's our best day of the year. Yeah, better than like New Year's Eve or Cinco de Mayo.
So you get a taco truck outside selling street food.
We tried to do that, and last year what I did was we set up a couple booths, and I wanted to help to promote Dr. Sparks and those guys, and so they were here, and they're like, "Yeah, we got a few thousand like slimes and stuff to give out," and I'm like, "That's probably not enough," but. Yeah, and so they blasted through all their stuff, thinking, "Holy crap, there's a lot of kids here." And I said, "This is the event of the year if you have a little kid." So it's great. Tianmu for sure.
Tianmu
Halloween, man. The Tianmu's a good spot. It's a good spot, man. I love it. Cheers to Tianmu.
Cheers to Tianmu.
This is the place to be. I love it.
But you have to survive the summer recession.
The summer, and then the 2 weeks in December when everyone's gone.
What about last year when TAS was off for 4 weeks?
That was not good. So for us, we have a lot of local customers, so it's good. I mean, to be honest, we used to be about 70% foreigner.
Yep.
But now I'd say we're probably 65 local, 60, 65, maybe close to 70. But again, when it gets cold or something like that,
they stay away.
Nobody comes. So these couple weeks, the 2 weeks where all the expats were gone, and then coupled with this cold time, it's been a rough month. So come and eat your tacos, guys, please.
Yeah.
It's been rough.
It's good cold weather food.
It is. It's good. I mean, we love it, but it gets us into that space where you're like, you know, you walk around, you're empty, and then you know you gotta get like today. You got to take that walk. I'm like, I'm just gonna go take a walk, and it's not a consolation, but when you see everywhere's empty, you're like, okay, it's not me,
right?
It's
right.
You know, it's not you, it's me. No, it's it's everyone. But
then you came back and the restaurant was.
And then when I came
full.
back, the restaurant was pretty full. So I thought, ooh, all right, good day for a Tuesday.
There you go.
I appreciate it, man. Yeah. Man, we've hit quite a few topics here, but I think we could go on forever. Do you have anything you want to add here, man, before we?
No, I think we covered it. I mean,
okay.
We are all those things. We're a licensed mental health center, and for anyone who needs it, we're there.
Okay.
Just give us a call, and we're pretty quick to setting up appointments for people.
Okay.
We're an information resource.
Okay.
We're an organizer of classes and tours and interesting talks like.
For sure.
The Happy Fisherman.
Yeah.
We have a digital magazine, which I'm really pleased with, and I'm very happy with the content. The editor,
this guy here,
Roma Meta, has done an amazing job of assembling. It's a lot of content about. It's kind of what you're doing here.
Yeah.
Interesting people doing interesting things in Taiwan.
Agree. That's why I started this, because with the restaurant, you get to meet a lot of these people, and I really wanted to share the story. And there'd be times where I would sit and chat with somebody for 10, 20, an hour, you know, and they're just telling me like they're a helicopter pilot that, you know, retired from the U.S. Navy. And I'm like, what? That's an amazing story. And most people are happy to come on and chat.
Right.
Some people don't want to be on camera. They don't want to chat. But yeah, we're trying to share cool stuff. And we want people to know that Taiwan is a great place, man. There's cool stuff happening.
I think for episode 250, you should print a T-shirt.
Okay, yeah, it's possible. I could do that. Yeah,
that's a milestone too. I mean, 232. That's pretty good. That's 4.5 years.
And like we were saying, it's been once a week, and this week I'm doing 2 because next week, actually last week and this week I did 2 because next week we're closed and we're gonna have the 1 week, and I'm gonna step back and I'm gonna readjust some YouTube stuff, and then come back out on fire again. Yeah, that's the plan.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I appreciate you being here, man.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
Happy Chinese New Year.
Happy Chinese New Year. Thank you guys for watching. We really appreciate it. If you want to find Adam McMillan, go to the center. If you are curious about where that is, in the description below, we have the website. Just jump in there and all the info will be there.
And if you knew us in our old space and haven't seen the new space, drop by. You'll be, I think, impressed.
Okay, sounds good. I will see you guys there. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
We will see you guys next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.